Some memories never fade. They have fur, bright eyes, and the gift of loving us without saying a word. Because every dog carries a story, and maybe a part of yours. Get ready to discover more than a breed. Discover a lifelong companion.
Have you ever found yourself in a situation where the constant sound of barking seems to invade your space and fill all moments of tranquility? If you have a beagle, or know someone who does, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This breed, adorable and energetic, is known for its vibrant energy and intelligence, but also for its unmistakable and constant barking, which can become a challenge in residential environments. Today we're going to address a very common topic among beagle owners: how to deal with the constant barking of this breed. Despite their friendly and loyal nature, the beagle is one of the noisiest breeds, and many owners find themselves facing a problem that can affect peace in the home. The beagle is a hunting dog, originally bred to track and scent, which explains its tendency to bark frequently, whether from excitement or hunting instinct. For many people, this barking can be charming, but for those who live in an apartment or in a space where tranquility is essential, the barking can quickly become a nuisance. But before talking about how to deal with this behavior, it's important to understand why the beagle barks so much. Its ability to scent and its hunting nature are key factors that motivate this behavior. With this in mind, we can begin to explore effective strategies to minimize barking without harming the personality and energy of this adorable dog. However, the big question is it possible to make a beagle quieter without compromising its vibrant nature? The answer may be simpler than you imagine, but it requires patience and understanding. Stay with us to discover the practical steps you can follow to balance your beagle's energy and peace in your home. If you're curious about how to deal with your beagle's constant barking, subscribe to the channel and keep watching. Leave in the comments your experiences with beagle behavior and how you've been dealing with the barking. Now that we've introduced the issue of constant beagle barking, it's important to understand what's behind this behavior. The beagle, with its affectionate and energetic personality, was originally bred to be a hunting dog. This origin shaped many of its behaviors, including the tendency to bark frequently. The main reason why the beagle barks so much is related to its hunting instinct. As hunting dogs, they were developed to track and scent, often making sounds to alert their owners about the presence of prey. This barking behavior is deeply rooted in their genetics. However, beagles don't just bark to hunt. They also bark to express excitement, attention, or even boredom. For example, if a beagle is bored or isn't receiving the necessary amount of physical and mental exercise, it may start barking more frequently. This is due to the fact that it needs to release energy, and the best way to do this is by expressing itself vocally. Additionally, beagles are known for being very sociable and sensitive dogs. They love people's company and don't like being alone. This can also contribute to increased barking when they're alone or in an environment where there isn't enough stimulus. Understanding these causes is the first step to solving the barking problem. Knowing that the beagle's barking is not a matter of bad behavior, but rather a reflection of its natural needs and instincts, allows us to approach the problem more empathetically and effectively. But beyond understanding the motives, is there a way to manage the behavior without harming the beagle's friendly and active temperament? How can we channel all this dog's energy in a more controlled and calm way? Are you starting to better understand the reasons for your beagle's barking? Don't miss the next segment, where we'll discuss practical strategies to manage this barking without altering the essence of your furry friend. Leave a comment sharing your observations about your beagle's behavior and how you've been dealing with the barking so far. Now that we understand the reasons why beagles bark so much, it's time to discuss practical strategies to manage barking effectively without harming the personality of this friendly and energetic breed. The first strategy we should consider is adequate physical exercise. As mentioned earlier, beagles have a large amount of energy, and when they don't exercise this energy in a healthy way, they end up using barking as a way to express themselves. Therefore, ensuring that your beagle takes regular walks, plays games, and has access to activities that stimulate its mind and body is crucial. Exercise not only helps release accumulated energy, but also improves the dog's mental and emotional health. In addition to physical exercise, another fundamental point is mental stimulation. Beagles are intelligent dogs, and when they're not mentally challenged, they can feel frustrated, which results in more barking. Interactive toys, such as puzzles that release treats, or activities that involve tracking objects, can help keep the beagle busy and engaged. This not only decreases the need to bark, but also strengthens the bond between the dog and its owner. An additional technique that can be useful is barking modulation. This involves teaching the beagle to stop barking on command. The process consists of positively reinforcing quiet behavior. For example, when the beagle starts barking, you can give the quiet command, and as soon as it stops, reward it with a treat or praise. This helps teach the dog that silence brings rewards. However, it's important to be consistent and patient in this training, as it may take some time until the beagle understands the command. Another important aspect to consider is proper socialization of the beagle. A beagle that isn't properly socialized may start barking excessively in response to new stimuli, such as other dogs or even people. Exposing the beagle to different environments, situations, and types of people and dogs from puppyhood helps reduce fear and anxiety, decreasing barking related to insecurity. This creates a calmer and more controlled environment, where the beagle feels more comfortable and less prone to barking. Now, are there even more specific ways to help your beagle reduce barking without compromising its nature? How to ensure that it feels happy and healthy while respecting the tranquility of the house? Stay with us, because in the next segment, we'll explore techniques that focus more directly on modifying the beagle's behavior without affecting its friendly temperament. If you're starting to implement these strategies and already notice improvements, share in the comments how the adaptation process of your beagle is going. Don't forget to subscribe for more tips on how to improve your dog's behavior and ensure harmonious coexistence. Now that we've discussed basic strategies for dealing with beagle barking, let's advance to more specific training techniques that can help reduce unwanted behavior effectively without harming the vibrant and friendly personality of the breed. An advanced technique that has shown great results is desensitization training. This involves exposing the beagle to triggers that make it bark, but in a controlled and gradual way. For example, if your beagle constantly barks when it sees another dog through the window, start exposing it to this situation so it can learn to behave more calmly. This can be done by placing it in a position where it can see the stimulus, another dog, but rewarding it when it remains calm and without barking. Over time, your beagle will learn to associate the stimulus with a calmer reaction instead of barking. Positive reinforcement is the key to beagle training, especially with such intelligent breeds. In the case of barking, good positive reinforcement training consists of rewarding quiet behavior. When the beagle stops barking and is silent, reward it immediately. This can be done with treats, toys, or even affection. The secret here is to ensure that the reward is given right after the desired behavior, so that the beagle associates silence with a positive reward. Another advanced technique for controlling excessive barking is behavior interruption. This technique involves interrupting the beagle's barking with a simple command, such as silence or quiet. When the dog starts barking, calmly speak the command, and if it stops, reward it. If the beagle continues barking, repeat the command firmly, but without raising your voice. The idea is for the beagle to understand that the barking reaction is not the desired behavior, but rather silence, which will be rewarded. Another important point to consider is the use of specific toys and objects for distraction. Since the beagle is a hunting dog, it has a great need to stay busy. Offering interactive toys, such as Kong or toys that release treats, can be an excellent way to distract it when it starts barking due to boredom or frustration. This also helps keep its mind active, preventing it from resorting to barking as a way to express unreleased energy. However, it's important to remember that when dealing with the beagle, consistency is key. Every time it barks, it's necessary to be consistent with commands and rewards. The beagle can be stubborn sometimes, but with patience and continuous training, it will be able to understand the limits and understand that excessive barking is not acceptable behavior. Now, the big question that many Beagle owners ask themselves is, when is the Beagle's barking simply part of its natural personality, and when does it really need to be corrected? How to know if the barking is a genuine expression of the breed, or if it's being caused by a behavioral problem. If you've been trying these techniques and started seeing progress with your Beagle's barking, share your experience in the comments. Subscribe to the channel for more tips on how to train your dog effectively and ensure harmonious and peaceful coexistence. Now that we've discussed effective strategies for dealing with constant Beagle barking, it's essential to think about preventing future unwanted behaviors. Just like in any other part of training, the goal is not just to correct current behavior, but also to prevent it from repeating in the future. Prevention starts with understanding that the Beagle, like any other dog, needs well-structured routines. Excessive barking can often be a response to boredom or lack of stimuli. Therefore, ensuring that your Beagle has a routine of regular physical and mental exercises is one of the most effective ways to prevent it from resorting to barking out of pure frustration. By giving the Beagle activities to engage with, such as daily walks, fetch games, or even obedience games, you'll be helping to channel its energy in a positive and controlled way. Another essential point is proper socialization of the Beagle from puppyhood. Dogs that are well socialized with other animals, people, and different environments have less tendency to bark excessively from fear or insecurity. Gradual exposure to new stimuli is fundamental to help them adapt to different situations. This not only reduces barking caused by stress, but also improves the Beagle's behavior in different contexts, making it a more balanced and calm dog. Additionally, when the Beagle starts behaving undesirably, such as barking excessively, it's important not to reward it with immediate attention. Often dogs learn that barking results in attention, even if it's negative. So by ignoring inappropriate behavior, you're teaching the Beagle that barking doesn't result in anything good. Consistency is essential here. If you don't respond to barking, it will start associating silence with positive results, such as affection or treats. Similarly, establishing clear limits is an excellent way to prevent the Beagle from developing unwanted behaviors in the future. Using consistent commands such as silence or quiet whenever it starts barking and rewarding it when it stops helps teach the Beagle what is acceptable and what isn't. Over time, it will associate the keyword with the desired action, and unnecessary barking will decrease. Structuring the home environment is also an effective way to prevent unwanted behaviors. If the Beagle is frequently exposed to stimuli that make it bark, such as passers-by at the window or other animals, consider using visual blocks. Heavy curtains or barriers that limit the view of the outside can reduce the temptation to bark at every movement it sees through the window. This creates a more controlled environment, in which the Beagle feels calmer and less prone to react excessively. But what about when the Beagle continues barking despite attempts at correction? This may indicate that it's barking for more complex reasons, such as separation anxiety. Dogs that are extremely attached to their owners may start barking excessively when left alone, signaling an emotional problem. In these cases, it may be necessary to implement additional techniques, such as using interactive toys to distract the Beagle while you're away, or even seeking help from a professional trainer to work on separation anxiety behavior. Could separation anxiety be the real culprit behind your Beagle's barking behavior? And how can we address this specific problem effectively? In the next segment, we'll explore how to recognize signs of anxiety and the best strategies to treat this condition, ensuring that the Beagle has lasting emotional balance. Are you starting to understand how to prevent your Beagle's barking and improve its behavior in the long term? Don't miss the next video, where we'll detail how to deal with deeper emotional problems, such as separation anxiety, which may be the root of excessive barking behavior. Leave your comment below, share your experiences, and subscribe to the channel for more training tips and care for dogs. Now that we've discussed some strategies to reduce excessive Beagle barking, it's time to address a common problem that many owners face, but which can be a bit more difficult to identify: separation anxiety. When a Beagle starts barking constantly every time it's left alone, this may be more than just unwanted behavior. This barking may be a clear sign that the dog is suffering from separation anxiety. This emotional disorder is common in dogs highly attached to their owners, like the Beagle, which is naturally very sociable and affectionate. They may not know how to deal with the absence of their guardians, and as a result, start vocalizing excessively, trying to get attention or express their discomfort. Separation anxiety in the Beagle can manifest in several ways beyond barking. Many dogs with this condition may also chew objects, destroy furniture, or even hurt themselves trying to escape from home. The key to understanding that it's separation anxiety is observing the dog's behavior only when you leave home. If the Beagle behaves normally when you're present, but shows symptoms of excessive stress, barking, destruction of objects, urinating or defecating in the house when you're not there, it's a clear indication that it's dealing with this type of anxiety. The good news is that separation anxiety can be treated with patience, consistency, and some behavior modification techniques. The first step is not to make a big scene when leaving home. Although this seems contradictory, dogs with separation anxiety often interpret dramatic goodbye as a sign that something is wrong. This further increases stress. The ideal is to create a calm departure routine without exaggerated emotions, so that the Beagle doesn't associate your departure with a moment of great tension. Another important step in treating separation anxiety is training the Beagle to be alone gradually. This can be done with the progressive desensitization method, where you start leaving the Beagle alone for brief periods of time and slowly increase the time as it gets used to it. During this process, it's essential to reward calm behavior. When it stays quiet or shows patience when alone, reward it with treats and praise. This helps reinforce the desired behavior. Additionally, you can introduce interactive toys and mental occupations to help distract the Beagle while you're not at home. The Beagle, being an intelligent and active breed, will benefit from toys that stimulate its brain, such as Kongs stuffed with treats or toys that require it to solve a challenge to release a reward. These distractions help keep the Beagle's mind busy and reduce the anxiety it feels in your absence. Another quite effective technique is using training with calm commands. Teaching the Beagle to calm down through commands like lie down or stay can be extremely useful to help it understand that it can stay relaxed even when alone. When the Beagle starts barking due to anxiety, you can use these calming commands, reinforcing the desired behavior and helping it associate the moment of your absence with something calmer and more controlled. Could it be that, even with these techniques, the Beagle's excessive barking may still be a symptom of something deeper? And what happens if training doesn't have the expected effect? In the next segment, we'll explore advanced ways to deal with separation anxiety and other possible factors that may be influencing your Beagle's behavior. Keep watching to discover more effective solutions and how to ensure your Beagle lives more peacefully and balanced. Are you dealing with a Beagle that has signs of separation anxiety? Share in the comments how you're treating this problem in your home. Subscribe so you don't miss the next part, where we'll delve even deeper into solutions to ensure your Beagle's well-being without compromising its happiness. In the previous segment, we discussed the first approaches to dealing with separation anxiety in the Beagle, but in some cases, basic strategies may not be enough. When the behavior of barking excessively becomes persistent, even with desensitization training and mental distractions, it may be necessary to resort to advanced techniques to deal with separation anxiety more effectively. An approach highly recommended by animal behavior professionals is the use of behavioral modification combined with positive reinforcement. This technique involves more structured training that focuses on desensitizing the Beagle even more deeply, in addition to rewarding it for showing calm during critical moments, such as when you prepare to leave. The goal is to ensure that the Beagle feels comfortable in your absence and associates this moment with something positive instead of a stressful event. An important advanced strategy in treating separation anxiety is the use of monitoring devices. If you find yourself in a cycle of frustrated attempts to correct excessive barking when you're absent, monitoring devices, such as cameras that allow you to track your Beagle's behavior remotely, can be extremely useful. They help assess the dog's stress level in your absence, allowing you to adjust training techniques more precisely. You can start monitoring its behavior when leaving home, and with this, identify the exact moments when barking begins. This can help you better understand what causes the anxiety peak and adjust training in a personalized way, making the process more effective and less frustrating for both parties. Additionally, there are more advanced obedience training techniques, such as using crate training. Although crate training is commonly used to teach the Beagle to feel comfortable in a restricted space, it can also be very effective for dealing with separation anxiety. The key here is to ensure that the Beagle sees the crate as a safe and welcoming place, and not as a form of punishment. When using the crate, you can start leaving it for short periods and gradually increase the time as the Beagle adapts, always rewarding it for remaining calm and peaceful. However, it's important to highlight that if the problem persists, in some cases, intervention by a behavioral professional or veterinary psychologist may be necessary. There are situations where separation anxiety is so intense that it requires accompaniment by a specialist. These professionals can help implement an even more detailed and personalized training plan, in addition to evaluating if there's a need for additional interventions, such as the use of anxiolytic medication, under veterinary supervision. In addition to behavioral approaches, modifying the environment where the Beagle lives can also have a great impact. Considering that separation anxiety can be exacerbated by excessive solitude or lack of stimuli during the day, creating an enriched environment for the Beagle is fundamental. This can include introducing puzzle toys, relaxing music, or even the company of another animal if possible. The idea is for the Beagle to have something to distract itself with, and thus not associate its solitude with anxiety. But even with all these techniques, could separation anxiety be just the symptom of a deeper problem related to the Beagle's behavior or health? How can we ensure that our dog feels truly comfortable and safe in our absence, and how to distinguish when the problem is behavioral or related to other emotional factors? In the next segment, we'll explore these questions more deeply. If you're trying to implement more advanced techniques to deal with your Beagle's separation anxiety, share your experience with us in the comments. Don't miss the next video, where we'll discuss how to differentiate behavioral problems from health issues and how to ensure the best approach for your Beagle. Now that we've discussed various techniques for dealing with separation anxiety in the Beagle, it's important to consider a crucial point. Separation anxiety may be just the tip of the iceberg. Sometimes, constant barking and signs of stress may be symptoms of deeper emotional problems, which go beyond simple frustration of being alone. It's essential to realize that the Beagle's emotional health may be related to other factors that are not directly caused by your absence, but rather by an internal imbalance. Dogs like the Beagle, which are naturally affectionate and sociable, may develop emotional problems due to past traumas, lack of adequate socialization, or even sudden changes in the environment, such as moving house or introducing new family members. One of the first things to observe is whether excessive barking occurs only when the Beagle is alone, or if it also barks in other situations involving stress or fear. Beagles are known for their sensitive nature, and if barking is not just a response to your absence, it may be related to a general feeling of insecurity. If the Beagle shows signs of fear at specific moments, such as when there are loud noises, presence of strangers or other animals, this may be a sign of generalized anxiety or lack of socialization. If your Beagle seems to have difficulties adapting to new situations or interactions with other dogs and people, it's possible that it has social anxiety. This can be the result of inadequate socialization during the critical development phase, between 3 and 14 weeks of age. Beagles that are not sufficiently exposed to new experiences may develop excessive fear of changes and bark aggressively or excessively when faced with something new or unknown. Additionally, it's important to consider the impact of past traumas. If the Beagle was rescued from a situation of mistreatment or neglect, it may have developed a chronic fear response. This fear can be triggered by apparently harmless stimuli, and excessive barking may be a way for the Beagle to try to protect itself. In these cases, it's important to work with a professional specialized in animal behavior to address emotional issues and help the Beagle overcome trauma. Another factor to consider are the Beagle's physical needs. Very active dogs like the Beagle may have excess energy that is not adequately released. When the Beagle doesn't receive the right amount of exercise or stimuli, it may start developing unwanted behaviors such as excessive barking, destructive chewing, or even obsessive behaviors. The first thing to do is ensure that the Beagle is receiving sufficient physical exercise appropriate to its energy level. Regular walks, runs, and interaction games are fundamental to keep the Beagle's energy under control. However, if barking persists even with regular exercise and adequate training, it's essential to consider the possibility of deeper behavioral disorders. This includes conditions such as compulsive disorders, where the Beagle may bark or perform repetitive behaviors without a clear reason. These cases require intervention by a canine behavior specialist who can help identify the root cause of the problem and develop a personalized treatment plan. Could your Beagle's behavior simply be the result of its nature, or is there something more complex behind the barking? What happens when the problem is not just separation anxiety or lack of exercise, but something deeply rooted in the Beagle's behavior or emotional health? In the next segment, we'll explore how to deal with these deeper problems effectively. Are you starting to realize that your Beagle's barking may be caused by something deeper than separation anxiety? Share your experience in the comments and don't miss the next video where we'll explore treatment options for more complex emotional disorders and how to ensure your Beagle has the balanced and happy life it deserves. After exploring the various possible causes for excessive Beagle barking and considering that conventional training methods may not be sufficient to solve the problem, it's time to discuss the role of professional intervention. In many cases, when the Beagle's behavior is deeply rooted, whether due to trauma, generalized anxiety, or behavioral disorders, help from a specialist becomes essential. It's important to understand that just like us, dogs also have emotional health that must be carefully monitored and treated when necessary. When the Beagle's barking becomes persistent and doesn't respond to basic training or environment adjustment, an animal behaviorist or specialized veterinary psychologist may be the solution. Professional intervention can include a variety of approaches, depending on the severity of the problem. First, a professional will perform a detailed evaluation of the Beagle's behavior, observing barking patterns, situations that trigger barking, and possible underlying causes, such as anxiety, fear, or compulsive disorders. This initial diagnosis is fundamental to determine the best course of action. Once the cause of the behavior is identified, the specialist may recommend intensive behavioral training sessions, which may involve both physical and mental training. These sessions can be conducted both in a clinical environment and in the patient's own home, to ensure that the Beagle learns to apply the new behavior in its daily routine. In addition to behavioral training, cognitive behavioral therapy can be an effective technique. This type of therapy is based on helping the Beagle recognize and modify automatic behaviors, such as excessive barking, associating them with a new, more appropriate response pattern. This method requires consistency and patience, but can be extremely effective for dogs with deeper emotional disorders. Another type of professional approach is the use of medication, especially if the Beagle is suffering from a compulsive disorder or a more intense form of anxiety. Although the use of medications is not a permanent solution, it can be useful as part of a holistic treatment, allowing the Beagle to concentrate better on behavioral training and lifestyle changes. Professional intervention can also include relaxation techniques, such as the use of aromatherapy or therapeutic music. Studies have shown that certain types of music, such as soft and calming sounds, can help reduce stress levels in dogs, especially in situations that would normally cause anxiety, such as the owner's absence. In some cases, professionals may recommend therapy with other dogs to help socialize the Beagle and reduce fear or insecurity, which may be the cause of its excessive barking. Interactions with other dogs under supervision can provide the Beagle with the opportunity to learn to better deal with external stimuli and improve its emotional responses. But could it be that despite all this training and professional intervention, the Beagle's behavior may persist? And what to do when barking doesn't decrease, even with all treatment attempts? In the next segment, we'll discuss how to evaluate treatment progress and what to do if professional interventions don't present expected results. If you believe your Beagle may benefit from professional intervention, don't hesitate to seek a specialist. Leave your comment below sharing your experiences with professionals who helped improve your Beagle's behavior, and subscribe to the channel for more tips on how to ensure your dog has a peaceful and happy life. We've reached the last part of our journey to understand how to deal with excessive Beagle barking. And reflecting on everything we've discussed, it's clear that there's an essential element at play: your dog's emotional well-being. Whether because of its nature, lack of adequate stimuli, or even deeper problems like separation anxiety, Beagle barking can be challenging. But with patience, understanding, and the right approaches, you can help your Beagle live a more balanced and peaceful life. The most important thing is to recognize that the Beagle's behavior, like any other animal behavior, is not a reflection of disobedience, but often a form of communication. When it barks, it's trying to express its emotional or physical needs. With this in mind, the approaches we discussed, from proper socialization to professional intervention, should be seen as ways to help the Beagle communicate in a healthy way. Regular exercise, mental stimulation, and consistent training with calm commands are essential to reduce excessive barking. We also discussed how separation anxiety can be an important factor and how to deal with it effectively. But the real key lies in consistency and patience with your Beagle, and in creating an environment where it feels safe, stimulated, and emotionally balanced. No matter how persistent the problem may seem, there's always a solution. The Beagle, with its friendly and loving nature, is an incredibly resilient dog, and with the right tools and techniques, it can learn to behave more controlledly without losing its natural energy and enthusiasm. Perhaps you have also identified with some of the challenges we discussed here, especially if you have a Beagle at home. Perhaps you have also dealt with excessive barking, or maybe you're on the right path to help your dog find emotional balance. The truth is that with time and the right approach, your Beagle can start barking more controlledly, allowing you to share a more peaceful and harmonious life. This journey of understanding, training, and prevention can be transformative not only for the Beagle but for you, the owner. Always remember, what matters is creating a true connection with your dog, offering it love, patience, and a respectful approach that helps it adapt and live in harmony in the family environment. If you manage to apply some of the strategies we discussed here and noticed improvements in your Beagle's behavior, share your experiences in the comments. Subscribe to the channel for more tips on how to improve coexistence with your dog and ensure it has the happy and balanced life it deserves. Also follow for more content that helps understand the challenges of canine behavior and the best ways to approach them.